just so you can see where the information appears. If you look at the name at the top of my image, there's a tiny copyright symbol embedded in the file now, which means even if someone gets a hold of your image and is not sure who the copyright holder is, there's something on it already that says that it has been protected. That information is also available under File and then File Info. So this is another way to check your file properties if you're already in Photoshop. If I click on File Info, you can see that right in the middle of this page is keywords. So it says Antigua, Guatemala, Cathedral, San Jose. It has copyright. And if I had entered anything about my contact information or my copyright limitations, which might be significant if you're using Flickr for hosting your images, then all of that can be embedded here. So I am going to run you through a series of steps that will give you a workflow when you're editing photographs. There are certain things that you want to do before others if you're doing a complete correction of a photograph. If you are doing something very artistic or unusual with your photograph, you do not need to run through any steps. These are just suggestions if you want to have a process to hold on to when you're working through this program. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up a TIFF because I want to show you from the beginning how to start with one format of image, change it to another format, rotate it, resize it, change the tone, change the color, and even work on the skewing of the image. You can work on any of the images you want. If you want to follow along exactly with me, I'm going to open up MX10152. It's this pyramid on its side. Because I'm in Bridge, if I double click, it should open right up into Photoshop. Looking at the information about this image in Bridge, I can see that this is quite large. It's almost 20 megabyte image. So I'm just going to pretend that I am preparing this to email it to someone. So I need to reduce the size of the image. I definitely need to rotate it. So the first step, though, will be to go from TIFF to JPEG. So reformatting your images in Photoshop is as easy as doing a save as. This is not very different from working in Word or with another program. So you just go to the File drop-down menu. There's a Save, which will save it in place of your original image, and a Save As, which will make a new image. If you're changing the format of your image, it will automatically make a copy. So if I were to save it as a JPEG, there's no way it can override the original file because it has to become a different type of file format. However, if you are nervous about overwriting files, I suggest you always make a duplicate of what you're working on, especially if you're fairly new to Photoshop. It's not going to hurt to make a folder that says duplicates and then stick to one of those folders for your modifications. So I'm going to File, Save As. This is a time when you can also change the file name if you haven't done so in Bridge. You can change where it's saved, and you can add tags to your image at this stage of the process too. But for this, I just want to focus on the format. The format is a drop-down box about a third of the way down the screen. The current file format is TIFF. You can see there's a number of other options, some better than others. What I'm looking for is JPEG. I just want straightforward JPEG. I'm going to click on it. You have the option to save it as a copy if it is the same file format. And then I'm going to click Save. When you first click Save on your image, it will bring up a window called JPEG Options. I mentioned early on that JPEG is a compressed file format. That means it is getting rid of all the information in your image that it doesn't think you need. So it might be things that you can't see, but it will reduce information for this smaller format. And you'll see the size will reduce considerably from 20 megabytes down to probably 4 or 5, even if we don't change anything else about this image. So the quality scale, if there's a slider or a place to type in the number, is 0 to 12, 12 being the highest quality with the least amount of information lost. Right now it's set on 8 because that's probably what I used last. But you can see if you click Preview, and if you don't have Preview clicked, you might want to make sure it's checked. It will show you underneath that word the file size that it projects it will be when you're done. So this is down to a 1.1 megabyte file size if I go down to a high quality image. And on the screen, you're not going to see any difference between 8 and 12. So if your goal is just to make a smaller image, you're working on a website for a department on campus, you're working for communications, you're sending email announcements for your house party or something, you don't want to send a 20 megabyte TIFF. Go ahead and just make it something that you can see on the screen. So pick a number, anyone you want, between probably 8 and 12. I would say once you go below 8, you do start to see loss of information. Even at 12, you can see it's down to 4.3 megabytes, so still a manageable file size. Then I'm going to click OK. You shouldn't see any change to your image. Unless you go down to like a 2 or a 3, you don't really even see the pixelation until you blow it up. But you should see that the format has changed in your extension. Should be .jpg. Next step, rotate your image. A lot of times cameras will rotate the image for you these days. There is a sensor, a weight sensor to know what the bottom of your image is. If that doesn't happen, you can go into Photoshop. We're going to be focusing quite a bit, almost primarily on this image drop-down menu, because this is where you'll adjust the rotation of your image, the color, contrast, color space in general. So under image, you can see close to halfway down, there's a menu called image rotation. There are standard rotations, 180 degrees, 90 degrees, clockwise and counterclockwise, and then something called arbitrary. For this, it's probably just a 90-degree clockwise rotation. So I'm going to give it a shot. It is. My entire image doesn't fit in here anymore once I've rotated it because my window is not large enough. So if that happens to you, and it looks like it might have just happened to me, you can hit Command 0. So I just wanted to throw out this shortcut. Command 0 works in all Adobe programs as far as centering your image in the screen. So if you find yourself zoom too far in or out for your image, you can always